Hello, welcome to my stream. This, let's just edit the title. Let's call it something nice. Let's call it, I don't know, playing while in chess, while in good, in. Oh, the key D has stopped working, it looks like. I poured some water over my keyboard today. It's back, I think. No, it's just stopped working. Good. Uh-oh, this is concerning. There's some water all over the place. Well informed. On a few games today. Streaming while informed. Okay, let's start. So I've been winning a few games, and here we go. We got the white pieces in the first game. I played pawn d4, so I've got a new mouse, so my arrows are better now. d4, c4, e6, c6, knight c3, d5 is expected. Okay, knight f6, he just wants to come around to the Semislav in a roundabout way. Okay, he goes for bishop b4, and you gotta start wondering about black's plan here. He wants to put the knight on e4, obviously. So let's just play queen c2 to stop knight e4. This is a very interesting, yeah, this is just a very weird way of getting to a, I would call this a semi-Slav. I don't know why. I think semi-Slav, the bishop goes on d6. So that's probably why it's calling it a Howard's defense in a Queen's Gambit declined. I think here you can play bishop g5 and try to transpose it to a normal Queen's Gambit decline. The point is it reduces the flexibility of this knight. And yeah, queen a5, I've played this move, I've encountered this move pretty much a lot. So if I play rook c1 here, black can actually grab a pawn, but he really doesn't want to grab this pawn. I've actually played this position in one of the against the former Minnesota Women's Champion. It was one of my best games in real life. So it was a club game over the board game. I think it was in 2017. And I had a similar position here, but I think my bishop was on f4 in that game, not on g5. So it's a fairly decent position. Now I think I can fracture their pawn structure, but do I want to allow rook g8 kind of ideas? I can of course start with this move pawn a3. Pawn a3 is going to be interesting. Here he can play, yeah, he plays bishop e7, which I think this is a bit of a chickening out move, bishop e7 here. Then I can play bishop d2, and I'm actually perfectly fine here. Knight e4, yeah, I'm down a pawn it looks like, but that's the Queen's Gambit pawn. He's probably going to play b5 and try to hold on to that pawn, because there is actually pretty good reason to hold on to that pawn in these kind of positions, but you have to say that white is more active. So knight e4, trying to get at the c6 pawn as fast as possible with queen takes e4 and then knight e5. Hitting c6, stopping the mobility of this knight. I think g3 bishop g2 would be very good for me, because these pawns are hampering my bishop's development on the normal diagonal that it develops in this opening. I think I've misplayed it a bit, and I've also poured a lot of water over my keyboard, causing it to go mad. Knight d5. Yeah, this kind of weird shit starts happening the moment you allow black to dance around with the knight. I think my b3 square is a bit weak. I need to watch out for b3 later in the game. I think he's going to put the other knight on f6 pretty soon. But I think he's scared of knight e5, so I'm just going to castle and just wait it out. Bishop a6. Can this be punished? Bishop a6 to me doesn't look so good. I think I can start threatening checkmate now. I don't see a good reason to not threaten checkmate in most positions. So you got to play knight f6 or something, then knight e5. Yeah, g6 is something you really don't advise in this position, but I really can't see how I punish it. I think the punishment can start with pawn e4. Um, so now the knight starts hopping, and now these bishops become like bishop f4 is a strong threat hitting the queen. I think I can just play bishop f4 now. I think he'll play bishop d6 if I play bishop f4, and that's fine. I mean, it's a good position for white. It's just pleasant, slowly building pressure. Bishop d6 probably, but bishop d6 e5. So yeah, he can't play bishop d6. Now I don't want to allow knight d5 again. At the same time, I don't like the queen here, so let me just play knight e5 just to rabble-rouse a bit. And the point of it is now I can capture back with the bishop. With the bishop, I have ideas of taking the knight and then playing. Nah, this doesn't work. Because of knight takes knight, and then I take a rook. Unless I miss some tactic. Then I take a rook, no? And then I take on here, unless I'm missing some checkmate or something. So now I'm just winning. The bishop on g2 does a very good job of guarding the king, and now I'm just material up. Here I can just play, I don't know, can I just sack the knight? Knight takes f7. Nah, it's just too fancy. Just put the knight on e5 and sack it on g6 later. Yeah, now he's just allowing knight here, and this knight is just too powerful for him. This has to be the game. Knight on g6. You don't want your opponent's knight getting to g6. I'm also threatening knight takes c6, forking these two pieces, and then he has to play queen c7 or something. Yeah, he's just allowed knight takes c6 now, or can I just take and then do that? I can play bishop takes c6. I don't know. Just too many options. Just take, grab the center, play rook e1. Easy chess. This is just comfortable chess. Queen c3. Just get things out of diagonals. Play d5. Give the pawn up for rook e7. Queen f4. Yeah, but then you allow rook e7 or d5. Let's just play d5 check first. And then now, after rook e7, you gotta go sit in a corner and cry, because now queen g7 mate is threatened. Well, rook takes f7 is good, but I think I like this check more because I have some nefarious intentions. I have queen h8 ideas, basically. I'm just saying queen h8, queen takes h6 is just very strong, yeah. What's even thinking? Queen h8. And ideally I'd like bishop d5, but like, yeah, sure. Queen takes h6 is not possible yet. So I can try this. And then let me make it up as I go along. I don't know. Oh shit, I gotta watch for time. So let's just grab pawns. I gotta watch for time. I'm threatening queen b6 check and winning the bishop. Oh dear, I've blundered a rook. Always not a good idea to disconnect the rook. Nah, just push the pawn. It's okay. Queen e3. Probably should have taken the pawn. I panicked with some time trouble, but it's okay. I think this guy isn't playing his ending very well, so I'm not so scared of him. Now I just got to read out my bishop very carefully. h3 check. Bishop g2, bishop f3 maybe. think king f3 is kind of important. Yeah, I'm starting to lose control of that pawn. So I need to do something bishop f1 maybe. Yeah, kind of did something bad. I should say now I'm just worse. Bishop h3. Now I think I'm tricking him a bit. So now, yeah, you're just losing d7. You're losing a bishop. I mean, why did you have to go and do that? You were winning the game, and then you just take the bishop. Yeah. I think I got one tempo. Oh dear. I think he's just blundered the game. That was... I did him nasty. I mean, I just gotta go here. Yeah, this is just winning now. Yeah. I mean, what am I even trying? I'm just going to use the queen as a rook. This was very painful for him. So I was completely winning initially. Then I completely blundered a rook, and then I was losing, and then I was, this was just terrible, terrible, terrible chess. But I'm reaching 1400, it looks like. My best form is, I think my highest rating on chess.com is around 1487 or something. And that's close to my best. I think he's just blundering after c6, queen f3. This is just Queen's Gambit 101. So person rated pretty highly. Yeah, he's just blundered completely. Queen f3. Thank you very much. Go on. Yeah, this is just dropping a piece. It's just a very simple Queen's Gambit trap. You just got to play knight c6 now. This is a winning game unless he switches on a computer from here on, or unless I play super terribly, which is not going to happen. I mean, I shouldn't play super terribly is what I mean. It's just that it could happen. Of course it could happen, knowing me. I think he just has to resign here because he's just walked into the most basic Queen's Gambit trap in the world. Knight d7 now. Queen takes b5. You have nothing. Bishop takes c4. You lose your pawns. I think knight c6 was the best defense because knight c6, let's go back here. So after queen f3, you just go knight c6 now. You've given up everything, but, at least let's just develop a piece. And then rook b8. The piece is loose, but it's okay. I mean, it's not the worst piece in the world. Knight f3 castles. You should be fine. Knight c3. Let's just not complicate matters. Castles, castles. You're playing a bishop down. Queen a4, queen c2, bishop d3. Queen a4. I think I can just take with rook takes a6 if I'm really arrogant about it. Let's just be arrogant because why not? It's just 3 pawns. Exchange the queens. If I lose this game, I mean, that would involve something very special from me. Even for me, this would be like something new. Yeah, knight d5 is something expected. Knight c3 now. I just need to activate my rook. I'm just threatening. Okay. Let's not blunder away anything. Let's just be very, very focused. and force him to exchange some pieces. Right? So let's start with never hanging a bishop. I think just let's play this, bishop e4, just getting a nice little tempo on the rook. He thinks he has something with this, but then there is bishop d2, I believe. Now you just got to vacate the last rank. I think, yeah, this. What do you do? I mean, it's just, why did you give away the rook? I don't understand. I can play knight to e4. I want to play knight e4, so let me just get my other knight into the game and then play bishop f3, knight e4, hitting this knight with a tempo. Yeah, which I would strongly advise against when you're playing a piece down. You got to keep the complexity of the game. The knight is starting to get trapped because now knight b5 and knight. If my knight gets to d6, I'm definitely not losing this game. I mean f3. I mean, what do you do after f3? You just, yeah, I have tripled up pawns, but I'm a piece up, so tough luck. I'm just going to play knight d6 and chill after that. I think a resignation would be in order after knight d6. It's going for the e3 pawn, which is not really under threat because my king is just going to get here, king e2. And we can play b4, b5, b6, b7, b8. Let's just play simple chess, yeah. Now I need to watch out for losing too many pawns, but I don't think I'm in any danger of that happening today. The king is just gonna march over. Yeah. I was gonna take and my mouse just slipped. I don't even know why I did this. This is terrible because now I just gotta wait for him to run out of moves. So I just play bishop. Oh, king here. I'm allowing this king here. Oh, the pawn runs, so it's fine. I think king a5, king a6 is winning anyway. So king a5, he's got to play king b7. After king a5, king b7, king b5, I think that's Zugzwang officially. Yeah, he's got to play something like, yeah, that's the only move. But now I can just waste a move. The double pawns are actually working in my favor. Stopping one pawn and stopping this pawn as well. It's just lost for him now. I mean, it's been lost for him since move 1, so the moment he allowed the Queen's Gambit, the basic trick of the Queen's Gambit, it was lost. This guy looks like a King's Indian player, this weird setup that he'll go for. Yeah, knight c3, g6 now, e4, bishop e2. I like to play the Auerbach system, but he goes knight c6, surprising me, and I'm going to play for a cheapo. The cheapo being knight to, okay, he's gone. He's played pretty decent. I mean, you can't complain. When somebody plays, yeah, it struck me as a King's Indian kind of position. I don't know why. It's just the moment somebody puts a pawn on d6, you just, yeah, let's just swap off the bishops. I'm not a huge fan of King's Indian bishops. Just play e5 now. There's nothing in the position for you. Sure, you can play e4 maybe and hang on. Fair enough, you tried. But after queen c2, or I don't know, g3, bishop g2, where do I want my bishop is the question. So I want my bishop on e2 because I'm just going to castle play h4. Could have played g3, but g3 would have allowed some bishop g4 shenanigans, which I wasn't too keen on allowing. Here, the e4 pawn is a long-term target. Let's just castle, play rook e1, bishop. The a pawn is going nowhere. I mean, sure, you can plant an a pawn, but okay. I just play b3, and then what do? I'll pick up the pawn at my own pace. I don't need to hurry. Sure, you're creating a juicy outpost for my knight, but I think the point of my play is going to be the e4 pawn. I think it's almost unsavable after bishop c2. Bishop f5, bishop c2, rook e8, and eventually the e4 pawn falls faster than a ton of bricks. Rook e3, rook e1, what do? I'm just wary of knight g4, so let's just play h3. h5, rook e3, now there is no knight g4. This is the sort of move, intermezzo move that you learn to identify. You just attack the pawn one too many times after queen. Here, this pawn has completely been taken apart. It starts with knight takes pawn, and I told you that the e4 pawn, the moment I played e5, I was pretty certain that it off bit by bit. I'm in good form today. I mean, like, I'm playing way better than I've been playing usually in the stream. I think you can see my rating climb today. I've been in a good mood. I don't know why, but you can see here very clearly. But let's get back to that. Let's just first start chopping off some pieces. First, you got to take the knight. This is interesting. Sure, you can play rook takes queen. Queen takes rook. I think knight takes queen is okay here. Knight takes queen is a check, and then queen takes rook. This is over. This is mate on the board. This knight f6 should be mate. Yeah, I mean, this should be mate soon. This little square. It's okay. I mean, I'll find a way. Queen takes f7. Thanks for playing. Queen g7 is mate next move. So, and this pawn controls the escape square. It's resignable. Thank you. Good game. That was nice. So I'm seeing everything today, so that's nice. As you can see today, my games have been like Jan 7th. Started playing Blitz around the afternoon. So these are bullet games. I just got a new mouse and I was trying it out, but the Blitz started from somewhere around here. And you can see 1312 to 1400. It's been a steady climb. So some of the games have been really nice. So I'll play 2 more today. I'm bound to lose. I should ideally quit after reaching 1400, but it's not a real 1400 if you can't sustain it. Yeah. Let's try to get a Roy Lopez going. Please don't play the Italian, but I don't know why. I just knew he was going to play the Italian even before he did. B4 Evans Gambit. Yeah. I don't know how I guess it just before these people play. It's just there's something in their faces or something in their usernames or something. D4 takes castles is weird. Now you're just allowing this equalizing, which in the Evans Gambit usually you should not allow. Knight takes e5. I think I should just castle here. I've just given a pawn back, it's fine. Or just play bishop e6 after taking. Yeah, why not? Bishop e6 and did I just do that? Oh, I've been tricked. Oh, for fuck's sake. What a dirty trick. I gotta beat this guy. I mean, I gotta beat him down. I shouldn't completely lose my composure, but that was a dirty trick. He had me. He had me. That's how life is. You win some, you lose some. This is my favorite line of the Queen's Gambit. It's called, I call it the Vishwanathan Anand variation. He played this in the World Championship against Magnus Carlsen in 2014, Game 3. It's very famous in India, this game. You should never play this game against an Indian guy. Because now you'll play b6, and actually the pawn was on a5. Carlsen put c6, a5, b6 was his pawn structure. It's just bishop d3 castles, and white is just better here. I mean, sure, you can take, but you just open the h file for me. G6 is fine. It's a decent move, but I think the h6 square is too weak, so I just get at it by knight. There's nothing that stops this maneuver now. Knight h6, knight takes f7, so many things is going to come into position. e5 is, to be fair to him, e5 is the way to play against this, but I'm just going to put my king on d2 or something. Playing in a very risky way. King f1, like. Knight h6. Of course, king f8 is forced. Let's play king f1, just to cover all bases. What? This guy's... No. It's not how chess works. Completely. Come on, play knight c3, please. If you play knight c3, we go into my favorite variation, the Nimzo Indian defense, Duchamp variation. I don't mind giving this away. The point is, after castles, knight e4, knight bd7. There's just something about these Evans Gambit players. I completely can't stand it, and they kind of wind me up. So I need to get my composure against such people. But yeah, I think he'll play queen c2 now, c5, queen c7, knight e4, knight df6 is the system. I mean, okay, after h6, then what? You just go back. I mean, what else do you do? Queen c7 is just a free tempi. Next move, knight e4. First of all, I can open up the position with bishop takes. Let's do that, because it's more fun. Bishop h7 doesn't do anything other than give away a bishop. Very generous of my opponent. Queen e4, or queen e4, knight takes e4. So you want to trick them? Let's trick them. The point is, they can't take back with a pawn because the queen is pinned here. It's a little neat trick, but are you going to blunder your queen is the question I have for you. Come on. The f3 pawn is hanging. This is over. And knight. I think it's got to be queen g4, pick up the bishop. Yeah, that's the most clean thing to do. Two pieces up. Disconnected. And let's report this person, because needs to be reported. How do I report? Needs to be reported. It's too easy, but I need to get my rating back to 1400, which I probably will not by the end of the day, but I'm playing some decent chess. I lost those 2 games to the Evans Gambit. Oh my goodness. Please don't play an Evans Gambit, please. This is even worse somehow. No bishop, no bishop g5, guys. I hate that move, bishop g5 here. d6, castles. Bishop takes, bishop b4 is still fine. I think a5 is the book move. Bishop a7 is the point. In these positions, you just play bishop e6, exchange the bishops. Okay, this. What if I just play knight back and play b5? That's what you do. Okay, I'm not playing this per the book because the book involves some sort of c5 stuff. And then knight c6. Knight doesn't get, I mean, the knight on f5 doesn't matter to me. I mean, it does, but he's trying to put a knight on f5 so desperately. Let's just play g6. I've allowed bishop takes h6. Therein lies the flaw in my master plan. But the flaw in their master plan, no, rook takes. Jesus. I was just calculating that. I mean, I was not even like actually pressing the button. It's just something about the Italian game winds me up. So much so that I'm going to play it as white. And of course, somebody plays the Sicilian. d6, d4, she d, knight f6, knight c3, g6, the dragon variation. And if I remember correctly, bishop e3, f3, bishop e2. The knight is not under attack as much as castles. Sure, it's just in your own bishop, bishop f2, b6. This square on d5 looks very juicy for my knight. I think you can just play c4 now. b3. I mean, it's diagonal a lot, but it's how the game. Sure, you can try f5, but it doesn't really do anything. That's the point of putting a pawn on f3, that you can never open the diagonal. And I would argue that my bishops are slightly better than theirs, but I could be wrong. The argument is this weak pawn on d6, but now bishop f3. What do you do after bishop f3? Bishop f3 is just strong. Sure. Try that rook e1, just solidifying my base on the e pawn. The dragon's been a bit outplayed, dare I say. I think just bishop g3 starts driving the rook away. Did he just hang a rook, and did I just not see it? Christ. No, the bishop was always protecting. Thank goodness for that. Do I want to allow him in the c-file? Not particularly. Do I want to open the c-file? Not particularly. I'm kind of out of moves here, and I'm just thinking how to target this d6 pawn, which is the weakest thing in this position. So let's just take. I'm not sure that's the right. He's trying for bishop g4. Let's just play h3. Although it allows bishop takes h3 shenanigans, which we could do without. Queen c1 is a nice little interlude, or intermezzo, as they call it. My argument is that if I open the c-file, only I can be better. I think I'm worried about bishop g4 here, but the person correctly deduces that I am. Stops queen c7. This is not so straightforward. Bishop g4 is no longer possible. So I gotta just start putting pressure on the d6 pawn. I think bishop d7 now. Yeah, bishop b7, which is fair enough. Queen a4. start sitting a7 pawn, which he has volunteered away. Bishop f2. G3 now, no? G3 blunders the bishop is the point. Queen takes b6. He's bleeding pawns on the other side of the board. I kind of saw this little sacrifice, but I always knew I had bishop g3. And now queen d2 should basically be the end of the game, because that exchange sacrifice wasn't worth it. Now the second rank defense. No, I got to remove this pawn before I ignition. You still have two bishops. You should probably play on for a bit more. Let's not go into one of those Italian games. No, I think it's Gotham Chess's ideas now. Knight f6. This is just an Italian game just transposed, no? Apparently not. f4. Now? Seriously? I mean, after I take, you take with bishop, and I just play castles, and I play d5. Then what? No, d5 is of course stupid, but I think I like knight g4 here. If they castle, I go knight e5, knight g5 maybe. Giving away a piece for no reason, as in true style. Yeah. I cannot play e4, e5. I should stop playing e4, e5 because I just fall for the most basic hallucinations that I have. How can somebody play so badly? I need to play e4, c5 the next game. I need to start playing the Sicilian. Yeah, so what did I do last time? I played bishop e3, f3. Bishop e2 castles, I think. Very solid setup. Disgusting. The only difference between the last game and this is that they have good control of the center. Last game, if you remember, I kind of established my some weak pawns, and the main move that helped me do this was knight d5. So rook b1 maybe. Rook b1. Yeah, let's just play rook b1, knight d5, queen d5, bishop b7 now. I think bishop b7 is a good move for black. He does find it. In this position, black is just better, I think. At least from where I'm seeing it. Doesn't look too good for white. Knight d7, bishop, and knight's going to chop it off, and then probably play c4. Yeah, and then argue. I don't think this is a very good argument because I mean, of course I can play c4 and try to hold on, but don't like my position one bit. Queen c7, c4. Queen d7. What is the point of queen d7? I don't get it. Some sort of queen f5? Let's just react to that because this bishop is anyway useless on e2. Maybe put it on c2. Sure. Like that does anything? I don't know. No, the a4 square is covered by the bishop. The only way, and then I play b3, then what? And the a3 pawn is weak. I don't know. This is a bit complicated. With certain benefits that I can't lie about. I have to play bishop d3 again. Bishop a6 blunders the pawn. That's why he's not playing bishop a6. Sure, this move, I don't see what it does. Let's just put the rook on the open file. Play with basic principles of chess. Bishop a6, bishop takes a4. Hitting the queen, and then I play bishop c4. And as Peter Swidler would famously say, it's very hard. He just blundered a pawn, I think, right? Just a free pawn. Bishop a6 I expected, bishop c6 now, b3. Yeah. And the e7 pawn is also super weak eventually. Now white is just better. I got two very good positions out of rook takes e7 is what I'm calculating. Let's try rook takes e7. I think I shouldn't try to get too cute, but let's try anyway. Queen e2. It's a bit risky because now he'll play bishop f8. What do you do? Queen e1. I have queen e1. You shouldn't forget that I have queen e1. It's tricky. It's not easy at all. Queen d2. Queen e2, and then you just keep checking maybe. It's a draw, probably. It's a very complicated game. He has a draw if he wants. Yeah, he's probably just going to draw this game. Just draw. Yeah, this was a bit bad from me. I just wanted to grab pawns because pawn grabbing is fun. No e4, e5 anymore. Let's just stick to the Najdorf. If it's good enough for Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, it's good enough for me. Sick of all the Evans Gambit or Four Knights game. This is some sort of Sicilian. Bishop e3, bishop e7. I've got some very big news coming to me through my phone, so forgive me for being a bit not focused. I'm just thinking of queen a5 in this position because then that allows knight takes e4. I've never seen this move g4. Probably my ignorance. It looks like a fairly typical Sicilian move. I don't see. No, he's blocked the threat. I'm just calculating if I can play e5 and then take the pawn, maybe. Is that the problem with g5? g4? Knight b3, queen c7, g5. Oh, maybe that's a blunder because of knight b3. Hitting the queen on a5. He goes knight f5, which I'm not so convinced about. Then I just break the center. The point is you have to take it because I have d4. If you don't, it's just a pawn sacrifice for some activity. But it's a very temporary sacrifice because I'm planning bishop b4. Let's say he takes with a pawn, then I go bishop b4. If he takes with the knight, it's queen takes, queen check. Yeah, he has to take with a pawn, then bishop b4. Now this temporary sacrifice starts becoming permanent if he plays bishop f3 here, which is the correct move, in my opinion. I think this will be my last game. I'm starting to have heavy eyelids. Ah, he has to take with a pawn and then be super careful. Bishop f3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and he can just hold on to the pawn. And then my knight is not in time to pick up this pawn. If I castle, he has rook g1 on a massive attack. He plays bishop c4, the other way of going to defend that pawn, really. Here I have knight takes d5, right? Because knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, queen takes d5. So knight e4, maybe? Ah, did he miss knight e4? I think knight e4 is strong. That's why bishop f3. I mean, I swear to God, I didn't, calculate this out, but bishop f3 would have stopped knight e4. Now knight e4 is a huge problem. Um, this is very subtle. I swear to God, this was just very lucky. I mean, it's not resignable yet. I don't know why he's resigned, but sure. This was a very good game. I know I said it was last game, but when you play a good Sicilian, it always brightens up the mood. Bishop c4. I hate this. It's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's definitely not a good Sicilian. To always see bishop c4. To have people play this bishop c4 all the time is super disappointing, but it's what people do. You know what they say, people are like, I mean, bishop c4 Sicilians are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Bishop b2 is coming. Let's just play knight c6 and play knight d4, block the bishop in the traditional ways. e5, bishop e6. I think this bishop is in danger of being trapped. Let's try a6, and this is good for me because d5 has to be good. Has to be good. Has to be good. d5 is just standard at chess. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. And in this position you usually play something like d4. Then ask your opponent. I don't know if d4 was so good. I mean, yeah, this is why. I mean, knight c4 is just a good reply. The e6 pawn is weak. Probably need to push the bishop from there. And the knight to b6 next. goes back somewhere to g3 or f4. I mean, of course not f4, but g3. Then you play knight b6 and then pretend like this was your plan all along. Well, when your opponent plays well, and trust me, they do all the time against me. Knight d7, let's thwart. Let's not allow knights to hang out in our territory. This is just a knight blunder for some reason. Queen takes e6 is okay. Knight f7, no? I see. I need to stop some activities. Mate on pretty much stops it. Bishop f6 stops it. Bishop f6, queen e6 check. So let's not do that. Let's just give away the e6 pawn, b2 pawns down, and cry later about how terrible our position is and how we allowed all this nonsense. Now I gotta take with a pawn. This is just so pathetic. This is not so good. King h8 is queen f. Okay, I'm in trouble actually. The only way to save myself is this. Now let's kick the queen away. I think he'll play queen c4, in which case you just play queen c4 and you just play queen d7 and then pretend like this was your plan. Queen takes c5 is another pawn. Unfortunately, queen c7 was more accurate. Ouch, that's a deadly move. So rook against queen. Although I don't get it. Oh, I do now. It's a deadly move. Let's try to get one of our Sicilians going. G6, please. The Najdorf. Let's play the mainline Najdorf. I think e6, f4, bishop b7, queen f3. This doesn't happen. I think he's wasting his time. I know why I'm a tempo ahead. 3, or I forgot, like the bishop is usually on g5 when this stuff happens. So I'm just trying to figure out the difference between the bishop being on h6 and... I think this bishop goes to e2 because you got to play g4 next. Whenever white plays b5 in this position, you got to play knight b3. I was taught this as a kid. Just trying to figure out some things here. For example, queen g3 doesn't blunder anything, thankfully. The e4 pawn is safe. I think you can play knight takes e4, no? Because if I play knight takes e4, you have bishop takes here. You have bishop takes e7 first. Okay, that was a lucky escape. I think there's just knight takes e4, that position. Now still knight e4. Very interesting. I'd play knight e4 with my eyes closed here. Knight d5 is okay, but it's no knight e4. You gotta feel like the pressure has been let off a bit for me, because now bishop f3 and then you lose your strong bishop also. I was actually doing much worse not so long ago. I mean, yeah, this does look bad, but queen f4, knight somewhere. This guy's just trying to win with pawns, which is fair enough. Knight c4 just looks like a monster. Hitting the b2 pawn, pretty much winning the game, I think. Then queen d4. I think that was not necessary. I think knight b4 was good. This is just queen f3 now. Unfortunately for him, there's no knight somewhere here to gobble up this pawn. c3. Now he's created a nice little outpost for my knight, which he didn't have to create. Now it's just developing all the pieces with tempo. Queen e5 is the problem. That's why I don't want to do anything. I'll just castle. Now f7 is forever under hit. Under threat. No d-file activity for you. Knight d4. That the nice little outpost you created with your queen shenanigans is coming back to hurt you. In some world, I can actually play knight takes e6 here, but not. This is not that world. Maybe just if I can play rook e1. The only problem is the knight supports the rook on f8. If it didn't, then I could potentially play something interesting with these ideas. Here knight e5 is just a super annoying move. Knight e5, queen h, just e5. Doesn't seem right to me. Just wants to drive the knight away, but knight f5? Is he allowing too much? Ah, I see. He's pinned it. That explains a lot of the friend. Queen b6, I mean. The sort of move that you kind of hope would scare somebody.